Ladies and gentlemen, with distinct honor, I welcome Mayor Steve Williams.
Thank you. Thank you very much. See what happens when it gets a little warm? Everybody starts to come out. Chairman Bates, Vice Chairman Caserta, duly elected members of City Council. In accordance with Article 10, Section 2 of the City Charter of the City of Huntington, West Virginia, I hereby submit to you our proposed budget for fiscal year 2014-15. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day. We're here because we love this city. Former Mayor Smith, wonderful. Glad to see you here, Roger. Your picture doesn't look just a day different. And Pastor Ford Price. We go back. We went to high school together and through Marshall together. It's just a signal of just what we're like here in Huntington, is that we all know each other and we have that connection, and we're certainly all family. And before I start going on and off, and then members of my administration are scared to death, I'm going to stray from the script. Let's just get to business here. The fiscal condition and the state of our city is sound, and certainly the strongest in several years. However, due to the neglect and timidity of many who sat in these seats before us, we're left with the task of addressing issues that have been ignored for far too long. Our revenues are steady. Our expenses are under control. In short, we've been able to avoid management by fiscal crisis, and have established a clear, concise vision to address an ambitious yet prudent direction for our city. We haven't wasted any time. We've been busy. In our partnership as administration and council during the past year, we have fostered a culture of expectation and achievement. Because of effective legislation passed by this council and an efficient delivery service by our city employees, our city is noticeably cleaner and more presentable than in many years. We have established a new way. We are creating change in our city. This council provided the administration the funding and the flexibility needed to establish a stepped-up code enforcement effort that made our neighborhoods safer and cleaner. And as a result, the pride of our residents skyrocketed. The paving program passed by this city council, funded by this council, allowed for more than 7 miles of roads to be paved during the spring and summer of 2013. After four consecutive years of $1 million in street paving and improvements, the city now is in the business of building avenues, building streets, building boulevards, as opposed to just patching the favorite pothole of the day. For the first time in years, the Department of Public Works is adequately staffed and administered, certainly more efficiently, in large measure because Director of Public Works David Hagley is now using his specialized training to address engineering issues, while our own Jim Ensko is providing continuity as the Assistant Director of Public Works. Our fire department is funded at a level that assures all stations are properly staffed and can remain open. The Fire Department administration, led by Chief Carl Eastham, is organizing itself to provide service beyond the expectation of fighting fires. At 105 sworn firefighters, the department is at its highest staffing level in more than 10 years. The Huntington Police Department continues to be recognized as the premier law enforcement agency in this region and this region of the nation. Under the leadership of Chief Skip Holbrook, the department sets standards for other jurisdictions to follow. Time and again, it provides training and consultation to other law enforcement agencies from all over the country. The police department is now funded at 111 sworn officers, the highest staffing level in nearly 30 years. Our efforts to improve revenue collections necessitated a multi-pronged strategy. Once again, this council provided us the funding for positions to assure that we had the ability to identify businesses that were delinquent in their B&O taxes and residents who weren't paying their fees. The collection team that's made up of employees from the finance division and the city attorney's office brought in more than $1 million in B&O taxes and processed in excess of 2,000 liens. We also found it necessary to streamline the process for anyone seeking to do business or open a business in Huntington. Our process was confusing, unfriendly, lacked simplicity. And our business services advocate is leading efforts to reorganize a very complex process, and in addition, she's streamlining our application forms and assisting in the redesign of our website to make us much more consumer-friendly. All of this is being established as she also ushers our customers throughout City Hall in the maze of opening a business. Our enterprise budgeting approach has proven steady because each person has been able to demonstrate that they are a source of revenue rather than a drain on the budget. Our planning office masterfully completed Plan 2025. It's the first comprehensive plan completed by the city since 1996. Gene, you were the last one to have one passed. It's been a long time coming. The new plan is constructed in a way that allows for constant updates as we proceed through the next 10 years, and we're also set to review all of our zoning regulations to assure that businesses are encouraged to invest in the city and that neighborhoods are also protected. The Big Sandy Superstore Arena's economic impact on the region was reaffirmed in 2013. Marshall University's Center for Business and Economic Research reported that the arena has a financial output of $17 million annually and sustains the equivalent of 190 full-time jobs. The arena continues to have record attendance at its events, and with the approval of the 10-year management contract between the city and SMG Management, the company will invest in the arena and its marketing efforts. We were able to negotiate 3 separate union contracts, bargaining agreements, 2 with our Ask Me unions. For those of you who don't know what Ask Me means, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, representing the city workers as well as the sanitary board workers, and 1 with our firefighters. Each contract is for 2 years and provides for wage reopeners. The first contracts that had been signed in nearly 6 years or more. The Institute for Labor Studies at that school up north.
West Virginia University.
It's West Virginia. The Institute of Labor Studies at WVU partnered with the city of Huntington to provide labor relations training for city supervisors and union officers. ASCME has also agreed to assist the city in providing equipment operations and safety training. Interestingly, the city of Huntington is also the subject of a doctoral dissertation of a student from Florida State University. It seems that there is ample research about labor management partnerships in the private sector. But Huntington appears to be the lone outlier, enabling first-of-its-kind research and analysis about how a local government and its bargaining units are partnering to improve the delivery of services and strengthen job security. Fairfield West Development firmly established itself in 2013. The road was recently cleared for the demolition of Northcott Court to commence. This has been a long time coming. For two new 40-unit senior housing complexes and an additional 50 single-family and duplex housing units are going to be constructed in the Fairfield neighborhood. In turn, Howe Grill Boulevard was rezoned to commercial, setting the stage for major private investment. The Huntington Housing Authority will seek to attract a private developer to redevelop the Northcott property. Residents in that area have requested a grocery store, and it's our hope that we can deliver. More than $60 million of investment is projected to occur in the Fairfield neighborhood as a result of these efforts. On the other side of town, the West End, as some say, the best end. In the West End, the River to Rail initiative is taking shape. The initiative is a multi-pronged approach relying on law enforcement, code enforcement, economic development, and community partnerships to revitalize the West End. On 14th Street West, the Central City Market has been leased to the Wild Ramp to link the commercial development of this beloved antique district with agricultural development. State Agriculture Commissioner Walt Helmick is partnering with the city in promoting the Wild Ramp and encouraging the further development of the farmers market. Our vision last year was to ensure that necessary resources would be placed in the hands of all our divisions. In turn, we would expect a level of excellence and innovation that would make Huntington an example for all to see as how you go about conducting business. Fortunately, we have a group of employees who are world-class caliber. And because of this, the city was repeatedly recognized as an example of how to provide innovative solutions to difficult challenges. We're finding a way. Examples of excellence recognized by outside groups were Huntington in Bloom. Anyone who visited Huntington last year saw a significant change in how the city presented itself. Who knew what Tom Bell could do? Huntington in Bloom had hundreds of volunteers throughout the city. City employees, our own employees, volunteered their own time and used generous donations from Hatcher's Nursery to landscape the gardens out front of City Hall. I don't know that I have ever seen this building as lovely. Huntington's YouTube video, produced by Trifecta Productions, won first place at the America in Bloom conference in Orlando. There's also a community progress leadership institute. The efforts of Huntington in recent years to implement innovative solutions to vacant and dilapidated housing caught the attention for the Center for Community Progress. Huntington is only one of 9 cities across the country. One of 9 cities across the country that was invited to the Center's Leadership Institute at Harvard University. The first Mayor's Conference on Entrepreneurship, sponsored by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, sent an invitation to me to be one of only 14 mayors from around the country who were invited to discuss strategies to encourage a culture of entrepreneurship. There was Madison, Wisconsin, Lansing, Michigan, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Little Rock, Arkansas, Kansas City, and right there in the middle of all of them, Huntington, West Virginia. Times are a-changing. We're showing a new way. As we embark on the second year of our journey, it's necessary to remind ourselves of what enabled us to successfully navigate through some unexpected storms and sometimes treacherous waters. We settled upon a common vision, a common purpose, a common value. In short, we all came here, hand in hand, committed to change. We recognize first and foremost, we had to be frugal in how we spent the investment of our taxpayers. We insisted on efficiency and innovation. We insisted on assuring that we would collect what was due. In exchange, the necessary resources would be made available so that needed services could be effectively provided. This council was asked to embrace a new way, an uncommon approach in government, to provide the freedom in our municipal enterprise, to unfurl a banner of entrepreneurship within our departments, and to release the shackles and reward the tenacity of fresh ideas. The result of that covenant is a community standing with us in uncommon unity. Our constituents have demonstrated their support by assisting us in identifying a new path to resolve old problems. We recognize that we can't place new wine into the old wineskins. We're here to show a new way to resolve old problems. Change is going to come. In 2013, we focused on establishing a new culture, a new manner of doing business. In 2014, we must utilize our newly minted system to address familiar problems that are corrosive to our community's psyche. The question that is set before us as we proceed into this venture, to what are we willing to commit? Are we going to settle for mediocrity? Or are we going to insist on excellence? Mediocrity or excellence? What are we going to change? Last year, we addressed issues that we initially didn't expect. We didn't expect them to be on a high priority on our agenda. After 20 years of neglect, the marina was in danger of sinking, or worse still, breaking apart and floating down the river, destroying anything that got in its path. We were forced to address this issue, an issue that others found convenient to set aside due to other pressing priorities. The consequence was unacceptably expensive. However, the rusty, leaky barge is now gone, and we are set to embark on a new phase of development on our riverfront. Earlier this week, you members of council authorized me unanimously to settle a contentious lawsuit that has threatened the viability of a vibrant neighborhood and created a wedge in business development with a family of entrepreneurs who simply seek to grow their business and see their community prosper. The old path of conflict, derisive communication, and entrenched obstinacy produced nothing of value. All that was advanced was the confirmation that city leaders did not know how to establish an environment where parties can mutually benefit. We're on the verge of resolving a 20-year-old issue in a fashion that will produce benefits that nobody ever contemplated. We are creating a new way. Once again, mediocrity or excellence? What must change? As we've learned this year, we know the path to excellence is going to require tough, difficult, abstract solutions that have never been contemplated. We absolutely cannot turn a blind eye to the issues that have been long ignored. Mediocrity or excellence? To create a new way, what must change? I signed up for excellence a year ago, knowing we would have to make decisions that are uncommon and oftentimes unexplored. Now, you may not have signed up for this endeavor with the expectation of addressing financial and regulatory issues that have never been reserved for municipalities, let alone communities the size of Huntington. You may not have signed up to be making such decisions. But the state and federal government have already signed you up without warning. With all the pronouncements of limited government and reduced spending from Charleston, Washington, the rubber meets the road in Huntington. State government and federal government have the luxury to look at issues from afar. Those outside our community can peer through the looking glass and offer suggestions telling us how we must do things. The reality is, we don't have luxury to just talk. We have the responsibility to act. Again, mediocrity or excellence? What must change? Our 2014-15 budget projects revenues to grow by $417,953. We anticipate slight growth in our B&O taxes, particularly in construction. The sales tax has continued to provide consistent growth. However, we're not certain how the West Virginia Department of Revenue is going to assess the cost of administering the sales tax program for cities. Our budget is positioned to focus on areas that have been long ignored. Let me stray from the script a second. Department heads went through a very rigorous procedure with us. They have ambitious plans. The proposal that was given to us was about $4.5 million more than what our revenues could be. We have a committed group over here, and they might be standing there with a smile on their face. They're not happy. This budget didn't give anything extra to anyone, not a dime, because we have commitments that we need to follow through. Imagine the condition of our streets, sewers, lights, our buildings such as City Hall, if there had been no appropriation for their upkeep for nearly 7 years. Our employees, our greatest single resource, have not had a raise since 2008. In many years, this one included, it would have been an easy way, an easy decision to say, we can't afford a pay raise. But this isn't going to be one of those years. The budget is tight, but we cannot afford to not provide our employees a pay raise. Therefore, I'm recommending a 3% across-the-board raise for all bargaining unit employees and administrative personnel. Now, the bargaining units have been advised of my recommendation, and we know that they may choose to have that amount appropriated for the raise to be allocated in some fashion other than a straight 3%. In my opinion, that's the right of the bargaining unit to make that decision. We did advise the negotiating committees, however, that whatever manner they choose to have the money distributed, and Darren's going to say an amen to this, that it must be administered by the city without difficulty. Do I hear an amen from the cheap seats? Yes, all right. We have observed from afar the water concerns that our colleagues and friends have had to wrestle with in Charleston. Can't tell you the number of times that Danny Jones and I have been on the phone together. They're our neighbors and our friends. But for the grace of God, so go we. And in that regard, we evaluated the impact that the chemical spill could have on our water supply. And we realized there was an array of local, state, and federal agencies that have overlapping and competing responsibilities. Communication is the key. We had stellar communication with our local health department, the County Emergency Services, and West Virginia American Water. I found that within our own operations, we had different divisions of service and regulatory responsibility that had to be coordinated. Therefore, I will be taking executive action where I have the authority and requesting City Council to act where it is necessary and pertinent. We will place under one administrative authority all city offices that have anything to do with water quality, regulation, or service. The Sanitary Board, the Flood Wall Division, and the Stormwater Division all are responsible for how we manage water that is disposed of, collected, or contained in the city. We are recommending that the stormwater and flood wall divisions be transferred to the sanitary board. The sanitary board is organized and prepared to take on these entities. Employees will be transferred to the sanitary board with all seniority and rights afforded to them under the provisions of their union contract. It just makes sense for the Senate and for the stormwater division to be placed in the sanitary board. 80% of all sewer lines in the city are combined sanitary and storm sewers. And immediate efficiency of operations results. Today, when a sewer collapse occurs, you have city crews showing up and sanitary board crews showing up to try to determine whose job is it. Under this new organization, when a sewer collapse occurs, there will be no need for city crews and sanitary board crews to assess who has the responsibility. With one sewer division located within the sanitary board, the work will be conducted and the appropriate division will be assigned the cost. The sanitary board is also equipped to implement the program that was outlined in the stormwater ordinance and wisely referred to committee by City Council. This sanitary board will immediately begin cleaning catch basins and unclogging the storm lines. The sanitary board can continue the mapping that was being planned in the stormwater proposal. In short, the sanitary board is capable of providing most of the services that were proposed in the stormwater ordinance with its existing resources, thus eliminating the need for a startup fee. Amen?
Amen.
Ford, do you sometimes have to pull amens out of the... The work group that will assist me in determining the funding of our long-term street and basement flooding issues will assure that our approach keeps Huntington competitive and avoids unintended consequences. I am constantly reminded that the city of Huntington is the most efficient municipal organization in this part of the country. Our neighboring communities have difficulty providing the same quality of service at twice the cost. I believe we need to maintain a healthy tension in our operations to ensure that we are wringing every drop of water out of the rag. Our departments have to step up their efforts to provide more with the allocation that's provided to them. The Huntington Police Department is the example that all our operations need to emulate. While the city has increased funding for the police department and council has provided a dedicated revenue source through a $3 per week city service fee, the city has not provided a dollar out of the general fund for police vehicles. Yet 46 vehicles have been purchased since 2009. Service weapons, shotguns, laptop computers, digital radios, bulletproof vests, surveillance cameras, all were purchased without a dime from the general fund. The police department has supplemented its operation with $6,493,019 from grant and outside money since 2009. Now, Chief Holbrook shared with council a threat assessment report indicating that the substance abuse problem in our city affects every aspect of our life. Clearly, when faced with the question of mediocrity or excellence, our police department defines excellence. The police department needs to take the next strategic step by implementing a community policing model to assure our neighborhoods are better protected. There's one problem. This budget can't take care of that priority. The police department is just one example. The healthy tension that I mentioned a moment ago is on the verge of being strained in every department as we attempt to achieve the most efficient operation possible. The fire department is finally at a staffing level where we don't have to fear closing a station, yet I'm expecting the fire department to not only be prepared to protect properties from fire, but also to be proactive and inspect buildings, to identify fire code violations and prevent the occurrence of fires. 2 new fire stations need to be constructed, one on 20th Street and 9th Avenue, and one in Westmoreland. Each is strategically important. Designs should begin. But this budget can't do it. The Public Works Department has 189 miles of roads and 200 miles of alleys to maintain in this city. Streets in some subdivisions are crumbling. Sidewalks are impassable in many of our neighborhoods. Streets and basements are flooding during a slight rain. Hillsides are slipping, placing in jeopardy homes and entire streets. Our bridges are crumbling and in need of replacement or repair. The Public Works Department utilizes employees to prevent catastrophes. However, it's seldom able to proactively establish a solution before the problem erupts. Our general revenue budget absolutely cannot address the full breadth of our capital needs. Our capital budget could easily be $2, $3, $4 million more a year. We have constructed a budget with limits, within the limits of our revenues. And we will continue to strive for excellence in all that we do. It's necessary for us to determine how we intend to address our long-term capital needs. Just as we have successfully established a paving program by having a dedicated revenue source, we need to determine how to establish a consistent capital improvement program. A consistent capital improvement program. But our present revenue structure does not allow us to budget for these needs. If you didn't sign up to be involved in this policy development, hate to tell you, it's too late to reconsider. In previous years, many of those who sat in the seats that you're sitting in now couldn't find the will or the means to act on these issues. We face issues today that can no longer be ignored. And as we move into the new fiscal year, we will address what we can with the resources that we have. Our biggest challenge will be to determine how we should respond to that which could no longer be ignored, mediocrity or excellence. It's our responsibility. Gird yourself to act. Behold, we are here to do a new thing. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is going to come. May the Lord bless you, bless our efforts, and continue to lay His blessing upon the city of Huntington. Thank you.